Welcome on back to the All Aussie Rules YouTube channel. This is mid-season review time, and this is the Gold Coast Suns. As with all our mid-season reviews, we're going to look at the season so far, do a quick player wrap-up, have a look at what's still to come for the season, and what we expect for the rest of 2024 for the Gold Coast Suns. As always, any likes, comments, and subscriptions are much appreciated. Don't forget to check me out on all my socials as well. We've got Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Before we jump into the Gold Coast Suns and their season so far, let's have a quick look at what's coming out this week. Most of it's already out, to be fair, but on Monday we had the round 13 review episode. Our review and preview episodes come out twice a week, once each obviously, on Spotify and YouTube. So the review came out on Monday, so go check that one out. Then mid-season reviews came out on Tuesday. We had Carlton and Essendon. We had Geelong and Melbourne come out on Wednesday. We've already had West Coast come out today, and you are currently watching the Gold Coast one. That's all our episodes for this week. There's still 6 more to come out next week. All the teams that haven't had a bye yet will be next week. And the other 6 teams are already on the channel, so go check them out. There's plenty of content to see. And then we finished the week obviously with the round 14 preview episode, going live on Spotify and YouTube Friday morning. A look at the Gold Coast Suns season so far. Much publicised undefeated home record, yet to win on the road. Interesting season, I guess, for the Suns. But let's go through it game by game first, and then we'll have a look at why the hell they don't win on the road. First up, they played Richmond in opening round, and they got a win by 39 points. Dominant first half. They were 61 points up at halftime. The Tiggies came back in the third quarter a little bit, but it was way too little too late. They won by 39 points. Round 2, they hosted Adelaide up on the Gold Coast again. Low-scoring affair, this one. Once again, comfortably up. 29 points up at three-quarter time in a really low-scoring game. But Adelaide came back, kicked 5 goals in the last quarter and nearly stole it. But Gold Coast held on by 6 points. Round 2, their third game, was in Ballarat against the Bulldogs. Their first away game and their first loss of the year. They lost it in the first quarter, if we're being honest. I think Cody Waitman kicked 6 goals in that first quarter. They were down 14-55 at quarter time. From that point on, it was reasonably close. They did win the second quarter. Third quarter was a draw. But the damage was done in that first quarter, and they lost by 48 points in the end. They had the bye in round 3. Then round 4 was Gather Round in South Australia. They played at Mount Barker against GWS. GWS were favourites in this, and GWS got the win by 28 points. Pretty decent effort, I guess, from the Gold Coast. But in the end, they just weren't quite up to the standards of the Giants. And I won't say... Well, they did kind of tail off towards the end. They lost the last quarter by 20, and they only lost the game by 28. So they were still in it at three-quarter time, but GWS got it done. Round 5 was against Hawthorn at home. This was the first time they cracked the 100-point mark for the year. They got 16-13, 109. They won it by 53 points. A consistent all-round performance. They won the first quarter by 18, second quarter by 4, third quarter by 18, and fourth quarter by 13. So pretty consistent across the 4 quarters. A good result there for the Suns. Round 6, they went up against who are now the top team in the competition, Sydney at the SCG, and it wasn't a great performance from them. They were 4 goals down at quarter time. They played okay in the second quarter, but kind of got blown away again in the third. Ended up losing by 53 points. Not the worst result of all time. Sydney have been defeating most teams at SCG quite comfortably, but you're never going to be really happy with a 53-point loss, are you? Round 7, They hosted the West Coast Eagles. They got the win. Second time they got to 100 points for the season. They won by 37. They trailed at quarter time. After that, they kind of turned it on a bit. Certainly in the second half, they won the third quarter by 31 points. Ended up winning the game by 37. Not the most dominant win of all time, but they got the job done. Round 8, it was the Q clash against the Brisbane Lions, and this is probably, if not their worst result of the year, very, very close to it. They only managed 6-9-45. Brisbane had players dropping like flies before the game even started. They had to bring someone on that had already played a VFL game that morning. He played and got subbed into the game a minute into it because they lost more players to knee injuries, and still Gold Coast couldn't win this one. So quite a disappointing result, that one at the Gabba, if I do say so myself. They're 40 points down at half time. They did win the third and fourth quarter, but only just, and certainly not enough to win the match. Round 9, they went up to Darwin for a 2-week period. First game was North Melbourne. They got the comfortable win, kicked 17-18, 120 to win by 68 points. A really good performance here. Won all 4 quarters. Won the second half by 43 points. Really good showing by the Suns. Then round 10, they hosted Geelong up in Darwin, and this was an even better result. This was their best win of the year so far by far. They kicked 26-8, 164, so really kicked straight, which is always beneficial. They were even losing at quarter time in a high-scoring first quarter, but then it just turned into a really open game and just really high-scoring. Second quarter, they kicked 44 points. Third quarter, they got 50 points, and then the fourth quarter, they got 43. So really high-scoring game. They managed 93 points in the second half, which is a huge effort, and just a really good win from them. Carlton at Marvel was always going to be tough. It's not the easiest away game. They lost it by 29. Once again, a solid performance from them. Not good enough to get the win, but pretty solid. Round 12, they played the Bombers up on the Gold Coast, and they won this one by 11 points. It was a bit of a to and fro game. Both teams had their chances. Gold Coast came out on top, and I think rightly so in my opinion. They were good that day and got the win. Round 13, they went down to St Kilda, or to Marvel Stadium, to play St Kilda in what is possibly the worst game of football of the season, if I do say so myself. It was quite dour, not very exciting. It was close. Gold Coast lost it by 3 points in a little bit of a controversial finish, but nonetheless they lost it by 3 points, and continued to not have a win on the road yet this year. So interesting season they've had. I don't know what to make of it. A lot of people are like, oh, that's such a good home team. I'm not convinced that they are a great home team. You look at who they've beaten. Richmond, second bottom on the ladder. Adelaide, fourth bottom on the ladder. Hawthorn, although their form has turned around, they're still 11th or 12th on the ladder. West Coast are 16th on the ladder. North Melbourne are 18th on the ladder. Geelong, granted, are an okay team, but it was in Darwin where the ball was just too slick and Geelong just couldn't control it. And Essendon, who are third on the ladder. So they have one, maybe two good home wins so far this year. So I'm still not convinced they're a great home team. I mean, they're a good home team. I just don't think they're a great home team. And you can kind of say the same for their away record, I guess. On the most part, the away games have been tough. Like, Bulldogs at Ballarat, Bulldogs, the best of the Bulldogs is as good as almost anyone in the league. GWS was a neutral game, but GWS, certainly at round 4, were one of the fancies for the premiership. They've kind of dropped off a little bit, but they're still in the top 8. Potential to be top 4, maybe, if they turn their season around a little bit. Sydney, top team in the league. Brisbane, granted, Brisbane haven't had a fantastic season, but that was a bad result, that one. Carlton, they're second on the ladder at the moment, and St Kilda are a bad team. So a couple of them have been bad losses. but overall they've certainly played harder teams on the road than they have at home. So it will be interesting to see in the second half of the season to see if they can turn that around when they maybe get some easier road trips and harder home games, which way their season ends up going. So just to look at some of the stats, mainly home and away records and where the differences are. So at home they're obviously 7-0, away they're 0-6. Not great reading that. Points for at home 107.9, away 63.2. That's a 54-point difference between home and away. That is ridiculous. Home they concede 68.2 points a game. Away they concede 95.7. So that's another 27-point difference, which goes from plus 40 at home to minus 32 away. That's a 72 point, 12 goal difference between their home and away form. I reckon that's unheard of in football, full stop. AFL, I don't reckon in the history of the game has ever had a stat line like that. That is unbelievable that it's so far different. Looking at the different quarters, it's interesting because their first quarters they're quite bad at. They're 4 and 9, minus 5 points per quarter. Second quarters they're outstanding. They're 11 and 2, so that's where they do their damage. Third quarters they're solid, and then their fourth quarters they kind of fall away a little bit towards the end. Some more stats between home and away. Disposals, they're plus 44 or plus 45 disposals per game at home, minus 47 away. So it's just, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but they just play different football at home to anywhere else. It's crazy. Inside 50s, plus 15 at home, minus 9 at away. Disposal efficiency compared to their opponents is plus 3.4% at home, minus 1.5 away. So they're not getting the ball as much, and they're also just not making the right decisions enough. Forward efficiency, 44% or 45%, at home, 38.6% away. Defensive efficiency, 42.7% at home. So you want a lower rating in the defensive efficiency, 46% away. So they just every single stat is just like skewed heavily towards home. Centre clearances at home plus 4.6, away minus 3.5. Stoppage clearances plus 1.4 at home, minus 3.8 away. Contested possessions plus 10.7 at home, minus 11 away. Tackle count plus 5.7 per game at home, minus 2.2 away. Like, every single stat is just skewed so heavily, and it's hard to put a finger on it other than the fact that maybe it's just the fact that they've played easier teams at home and harder teams away. Like, that could be what it is. They have had a very easy run at home. Like, we went through it just moments ago. Like, they have played all the bottom teams at home, which is unbelievably lucky for them. But they did beat Essendon at home, so that's not an easy game. Granted, the stats weren't quite as blown out as some of the others, so I don't know what it is. If it's just that, I guess we'll find out in the coming weeks when they start playing some other teams. I think we'll run through that in a minute, but there certainly are some games that I'm interested to see how they go and whether they completely just throw everything out that's happened so far. I look at some of their players. I think their midfield's really good. Matt Rowell's been their best player, I think, this year. He's outstanding in the middle. He puts a lot of pressure on. He gets a lot of tackles, but he gets a lot of clearances as well. His start to the year was outstanding. His opening round game was great. His round one game was really good. So he's been good. Miller always is good. There's no doubt about that. He's an outstanding player. Noah Anderson has been really good as well as that third midfielder. Crazy that probably their best three players this year so far have all been inside mids. Sam Flanders has been really good as a running back. Sometimes he goes into the midfield as well. He plays really good either way. Jared Witts is one of the better ruckmen. He's probably top 5 ruckman at the moment in the AFL, I'd say. His best is really good. Outside of that, that's where their best players are, in the middle, and Sam Flanders. Outside of that, Mac Andrews showing some really good signs as a third-year defensive key defender. He's been really good. Sam Collins is up there as one of the best key defenders in the league as well. So they've got some really good key backmen. Sam Closey, as a first-year player running around the outside of the midfield, has been really good. He's shown some really good signs. They're showing plenty of good stuff. It's just the fact that they've also shown some pretty bad stuff as well this year. Now we will jump into what they've got going for the rest of their season, who they're playing, and when they're playing. So round 15 is an away game against Fremantle. So this continues their season of tough away games. I would expect they'll probably lose that. Then they've got Collingwood at home. So this is kind of like similar to the Essendon one. It will be a good test to see if they can continue winning at home, and then or not. We'll see. We'll find out if they really are a great home team or not in round 16. Round 17, they've got an easy away game. So this is their chance against North Melbourne. It's not easy. No game is easy. I will take that back. But easier away game against North Melbourne at Marvel. If they can't win this one, then yes, they are the worst away team in the history of AFL. That's my conclusion. If they lose to North Melbourne in round 17. Round 18, they've Port Adelaide, so that will be another litmus test, I guess, for them. A tough game at home. Round 19 is another tough away game against GWS. Round 20, Brisbane at home. That could be a really good game. We'll see what happens there. Round 21, West Coast over there is a chance for West Coast to get a win, to be honest. Round 22, Essendon at Marvel's a really tough game. Round 23, home against Melbourne. I don't know what to make of Melbourne at the moment. It'll be interesting to see how they're travelling at that point. Richmond away at the MCG in the final round is a chance for them to win another away game there. So yeah, that's what they've got coming up for the rest of the season. What do we expect from them for the rest of the year? Is a good question. I don't know. At the moment, they've obviously won 7 games, lost 6. Do they win enough to make finals? At the moment, no, because they're going to have to win at least one away game to make finals. They would have to win every home game and win at least one away game, in my opinion, to make finals. Granted, they do have an away game against North Melbourne, so if they won every home game, beat North Melbourne, then potentially they could play finals. Do they win any more than that? I don't know. West Coast at Optus Stadium will still be tough, to be honest. Depends what West Coast is going out there at the time and what Gold Coast is going out there at the time. Other than that, it's hard to see them winning any other away game other than maybe Richmond in round 24. There's a fair chance, not saying a definite chance, but there's going to be a chance that they will have a round 24 game against Richmond at the MCG to make finals. Will that happen? I don't know, but it's potentially going to happen. Because at this point, you'd say they probably will only win 5 at most, really, up until round 23 from here, which would have them at 12 wins, which would have them borderline. I think you're probably going to need 13 wins to make finals this year, just with how close everyone from second on the ladder down to about 12th on the ladder is. I think you're going to need 13 wins. I think they'll need that round 24 game to have a chance to make finals. There's a very good chance of that. I'd love to see them make finals. They have been in the position to make finals once before, and then Gary Ablett did his shoulder and their season fell apart. Other than that, they've had a really rough start to their life as a team, and they probably do need to start making the finals, but I'm just not convinced they're there. Their home record says that they are. Their away record says they're not. I think it's more based on who they've played and I just don't think they match it with the top teams, to be honest. I have them from that. I think they're a 9, 10, or 11 best team in the league. Maybe it gets them into the finals, maybe it doesn't, but I just don't think they're quite there. They've still got some good players coming through. They've still got potential this year and in coming seasons, but I just don't think they're quite in the top 8 at the moment. But that's my opinion. Let me know if I'm wrong. If you think I'm completely off on that, let me know. Are they a top 8 team? I don't think so, though. So that's everything I have. This is the 12th team that I've done a mid-season review for. So go check them all out on the channel. There's a playlist on the channel, so go check them all out. The remaining 6 teams will be coming out next week on the channel. Also, don't forget, tomorrow is the round 14 review episode. So, no, not review, preview episode. So go check that one out on YouTube and Spotify. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch us on the next one.